Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program we have Dandy Warhols. That's right, I had a chance to chat with the lead singer of Dandy Warhols, Courtney Taylor-Taylor. We had a really great chat, actually a long one. I'll tell you, I was really excited to get to talk to him about Bowie, and it seemed like we weren't going to really go there after the conversation went in a different way, but I brought it back around, and it was just like such a great conversation. I'll talk about Bowie anytime with anyone, as he's such a miraculous force, and so we had a lot of fun chatting. And Dandy Warhols also played 2 sold-out shows at the Fillmore in San Francisco. I went to one of those shows the first night and got to cover that. Got to take some pictures and some video. We'll play a song here in just a minute from the Dandy Warhols. But before we get into Dandy Warhols coverage, I do need to share that today was opening day for duck hunting season. And those who know me know that I'm a big duck hunter. I really enjoy it. I've gotten really passionate about it over the last half decade or so, and continue to build my skills through it. But it's something that I really, really enjoy, and I really enjoy getting out with friends and doing it as well. So I had a lot of fun with that. I camped out overnight at Grizzly Island, which is one of the places that I go to hunt. I slept in my car, got there probably too early, but around 2 in the afternoon, and just hung out the rest of the day, read a book, and watched a little bit of a movie. Went to sleep a little bit early, but then woke up and caught Something Corporate's reunion show. They reunited in Vegas. And I had a little part in that, which I'll save for a future episode of Concert Pipeline. But super excited about it. And so I watched the whole concert, and I was awake way too late for my own good, because I needed to wake up at like 3 a.m. anyway. So I'm running on borrowed time. And I definitely need to sleep, but I'm going to do it all again tomorrow. So I'm not learning my lesson really, but got out, was really impressed by the process, getting through the check station and getting all that sorted, and went out, found a good spot. My friends met up with me, and we just hung out and ate some birds. I had my first opening day limit, which is awesome. It means I brought home 7 birds that are in my fridge. I need to clean them up, but that'll have to wait until tomorrow. I'm going to have more to add to the stack tomorrow. So super excited to get out after it and have a great time. So that was a lot of fun. I'll leave that story at that for right now. Okay, so Dandy Warhols. Like I said, I had a chance to talk to Courtney Taylor-Taylor. We dug deep into his music, kind of how he identifies and connects with music a lot. The show at the Fillmore, I went to the Fillmore, and it's been a while since I've been to the Fillmore, my favorite venue in San Francisco. And one of the things that I really love about the Fillmore is their apples. They have these apples that have like magic in them, and I don't know what it is, but they're delicious. They're red apples, and they're just great, right? They did not have the red apples at the Dandy Warhols show, so you'll hear in the interview. I recommend that to Corey, and that those are not the apples that I was recommending, Corey. If you're checking this out at a later time, definitely not those ones. So apologies for that. But it's always fun to walk through the rooms and get lost in the concert posters that are on the walls. I found a couple that featured Dandy Warhols also. So I mean, they've played the Fillmore probably more than a handful of times. And I'm sure they had a Fillmore poster from the show that I went to. I wasn't able to stay for the whole thing. They didn't come on until about 10:20 after Black Angels and one other artist. And I'm just exhausted. That's late for me, and I knew I had to get home and get some sleep and not crash on the way home. So I prioritized my safety, but I stayed for a couple of songs, and and they put on a really fun performance from what I did see. I'm into their style, their music, and I'm glad that I went to the city to check them out. So we're going to start with a song from Dandy Warhol's set. I do want to preface. If you're prone to epileptic behavior or do not do well with flashing lights, you should probably fast forward the podcast about 4 minutes and 5 seconds from the time we start the song, because there's a lot of flashing lights in this upcoming song. I believe this is a song called Ride. We're going to start off with that, and then we're going to hop into my interview with Courtney Taylor-Taylor. Here it is. So how are you doing, Corey?
Well, just got on tour, woke up in a hotel room with the AC blowing on my face and my throat burning. So was a rough night, but I did get kind of a lot of sleep, so I feel pretty good. Got up, got some exercise, got in the pool. We're in Arizona, so an 88-degree pool, and it's going to be 100 today. So it's things are looking pretty good, frankly.
I'm sure you have to adapt to a lot of different environments, with the tour life and being not just in one different place, but all, different states, different environments, different countries all over the world, right?
Yeah, yeah. In the old days, when we in olden times, where we would just go from one continent to another, um, going across the equator and having it go from, we're skiing, and then 3 days later we're laying by the pool or swimming in the ocean. Those are pretty crazy times. We caught colds a lot and weird stomach viruses. We're we're wiser now. We've got it a little more figured out.
Yeah, yeah. What has kind of helped you kind of get to this place where you're really comfortable with the touring and not having those issues?
Well, just experience, and sort of coming to the conclusion and drawing a line at X amount of days. We go out for a couple weeks, and it's really fun, and we get home feeling better than psychologically better than we felt when we left, and that's a huge part of it. This should be something that we enjoy. um, we all do other things in our lives, a lot of other things, so um, we're not desperate to milk this for every dollar or anything like that. We just do it because we really, really, truly love it. And there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people out there that want us to do it. I mean, yeah, it just seems to be a great symbiotic relationship of us and a global fan group, you know, more like a global family, frankly, at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really fun. It's really, 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 it just feels healthy.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, about how you built that global fan base. I mean, you've been around for a long time, obviously, but
Well, we
tell me.
grinded it out on the road. I mean,
Yeah.
and you release, I think the most important thing is, which makes perfect sense now, but was very confusing to people back in, the late 90s, um, is you just only do what you want to, what you want to do, B, what should you be remembered, what you want to be remembered for. And that was, uh, in the old industry days, that was a very weird and, you know, considered like career suicidal behavior to just do what you want to do. You got to, this phrase called gatekeepers, and there are still gatekeepers. There are influencers, and there are, heavy duty magazines online, and all the same things and some new things. But now it would be foolish to try to do what you thought some influencers would like to hear or see in a video. Um, that everyone just gets to do whatever the hell they want and hope that they connect with the right people to further their ambitions. Uh, but for us, we've been doing it the whole time. So we have a very hardcore uh, following of people that, psycho, emotional, sexual, whatever the balance of pieces that create their psyche, it matches with ours, and we relate to the same thing. This band and our music and our work is probably my favorite band. I listen to more of the Dandy Warhols than I do any other band probably ever.
Yeah. And so outside of making the music, you listen to the music a lot, like on the road, like you'll put the album on and just really dive
No, at
into it.
home I smoke a shit ton of weed, and I just put the Dre Beats Studios on, and we have so many songs,
Yeah, you
and
do.
I'll just think of I want this one. I want to hear this one, and they put me where I want to be. I feel better when I'm
Yeah,
listening to the Dandy Warhols. I feel better.
that's great. That's actually really cool because I've interviewed hundreds of bands, and I don't know that I've heard anyone say that before, that they're that comfortable listening to their own stuff, and that that's kind of a place where they go to, right? You talk a lot about other
Yeah.
bands and influences and everything, but being able to kind of dive in and really having your own music kind of center you is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what it was made for in the first place, is to use the word center or grounding yourself. And that's what they all are. Had an interesting thing. We were playing on a Irish a festival last about a year ago exactly, I think, in Somerset in southern England, and it was mostly Irish folk punk. And what in the hell are we doing here? But this French kid that must have been 14, um, he said after afterwards, I think he knew our French monitor engineer, and she said that he had turned to his friends and gone, "This is real music. This this is real music." And it's something connected with him that it just it made perfect sense. And I think that's the thing when you're really truly expressing yourself, um, it to other people who are similar, physiologically, chemically, or emotionally, whatever. To you, it'll just sound like it's real, and any all things that sound like other people will sound put on, or you know, like they're just trying too hard to be a thing or whatever. But in fact, maybe that that music, because I don't really relate to a lot of music, frankly. Um, but maybe that stuff connects with other people, and you just have to let it go. I think most famously was in my group of people. I really enjoyed the desert sound um, that was happening, 15 years ago or whatever. But when Josh Ohm somehow somehow jettisoned Nick Olivetti from his band, and Nick was a real Cookie Monster vocal metal guy, and Josh is, arguably the hippest, most amazing and inventive guitarist of our age. Jack White. There's a handful of these cats that are they're just classic, like Jimmy Page level, visionary guitar players. Um, and I remember reading an interview where Nick was just really bitching about it, and I just thought, that's crazy. You have two different types of music that you love, like.
Yeah.
And Nick did. I remember saying in an interview that he is a legend, for that style of music. He should take advantage of it while he can and put together a band and be the best of that thing. And then he did, So that was a case in point of, you know, everybody's got it inside them, and nobody's so different and so unique that if they didn't make music that they love, that if you make music you love, you will find people out there that are like you, and that feel that your music is the real music.
Yeah.
Yours is the real stuff, and the other stuff is thin or paper thin or cheap or imitation, maybe. Um, as I, you know, I mean, I did music college, and I've been a musician basically since I was a very small child. It was kind of the most powerful thing in the world. I noticed at maybe 4 years old, 4 or 5. This is the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
And so I obsessed on it. But what I've found for me, besides outside of my band, and then the things like Love and Rockets and Bauhaus, and these bands that I truly relate to, and it gives me that, it changes my blood pressure. It's just everything becomes balanced and correct in the world when it's playing. But the music from the Renaissance and the early Baroque era, um, kind of before they invented the virtuoso performer, the virtuoso was the composer. So they're just moving chords around a lot. There's
Sure.
not one wailing human doing some crazy vocal acrobatics that we're supposed to be impressed or moved by, um, other than like watching a marathon,
Yeah, yeah.
or a dog run a steeple, or a horse run a steeplechase, or whatever. It's impressive, but it is different than being moved or transported or elevated. Um,
So was it a more recent thing that you kind of strayed away from music or being able to relate to like a lot of other music, or has it kind of been that way for you for a long time, or growing up you had challenges relating to music?
yeah, I
Mhm.
didn't relate to a lot of music, and I learned to shut out lyrics.
Mhm.
So it was hard for me to become a lyricist because I didn't really know what lyrics were. Even Simon and Garfunkel, you listen to these unbelievably beautiful and perfect recordings and performances, and then they get to lyrics where you just, oh God, I didn't want it. Hiding in my room, safe within my womb, I touch no one and no one touches me. It's like, ugh, God, it's hard to get through. But
Right.
it's like, having a great sandwich, but there's the chunks of cheese are just a little hard to get. They're a little big, a little
Yeah, yeah.
hard to get through, but it's a great sandwich. Um, you know, that's kind of how I felt about most music. Um, growing up, it was, and I we were we were really really good friends with David Bowie, who is probably my single favorite rock star of all time.
I
He
was
and
going
Jim,
to get to David Bowie. I want to
he
hear
and
all about it. Like,
he and Jim Morrison, I really feel, and Jimi Hendrix. These are guys that are sort of like the really untouchable. And David was cool, and he knew that he was not a rocker. He knew that he was theater, straight up. Um, he would take show tunes. He could make show tunes. He really understood that, and he was great at it. So that's why he really loved American rockers. Lou Reed, Iggy Pop. He just loved that shit, and he really could identify what he liked and what was fascinating to him. And I was we were fortunate to be utterly fascinating to him for many years. So we got to hang out and work in the studio with him, and he came to all our shows. We played dozens of gigs with him. Um, and sorry, wow, I just got taken away for a minute there. I have no idea where I started with that.
well,
Um,
tell me about like, who was David Bowie
oh,
off
oh,
stage?
just
What was
just that
that?
it's hard. Just that it was hard. Uh, it's it's hard to find other artists that you uh, like, or just that you are fascinated. The music moves you. You wonder where it comes from in them, and all of that. And that's kind of how music sounds to me. And I think that's why it's hard for me to find other music that I love or other artists where I could put on an entire record and I'm there
Mhm.
with them the whole. I'm just, thank you. I'm gone with you the whole time. Even the Beatles don't really do that to me. I can't put on whole Rolling Stones records. I can't put on whole David Bowie records, except for maybe Ziggy Stardust, and be teleported the entire time.
Yeah. But you have to be, I guess I would think you'd have to be able to connect with the band in some way, right? Like you mentioned the Beatles, you covered Blackbird, for Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah, yeah, uh, because I randomly wrote that into a lyric.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know why it just came out, and then several years later he died. And I had said, when Michael Jackson dies, we're covering Blackbird, which was because he had, uh, it wasn't a very nice thing to do, but he had scooped up and outbid Paul McCartney on his own music, on the rights to his own music, because the Beatles came from an era of true scumbaggery in the industry where you could make these songs and not own them. They could be
Right.
taken from you or bought from you or forced to, you could be forced out. And so Michael did that to the Beatles. So I was being snippety when I wrote that lyric. And then Michael was gone, and of course there was a flood of, hey, are you guys gonna, you have to cover Blackbird now.
Yeah. So you did the thing.
But yeah, did a great job of it too, I thought.
Yeah.
It's cool. Well, it was Pete, our guitar player, Pete Holmstrom. It was him. He was the one who basically did that, because that's a hard song,
Yeah.
and he did it. He'll sit down. Don't say Pete won't sit down and learn Blackbird and make an amazing recording of it. I just
Yeah.
sang on it. I didn't play anything on it. I just sang on
Hey, you were there.
it.
Yeah.
Hey, me
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your music has been used for, the theme song did not just to more than one TV show. Veronica Mars and Mythbusters is what I read. Like how do those things come about for you? And do you have a part in kind of making it happen, or is it brought to you to?
You have no say in what other people um, want. It's their career.
Yeah.
This based quite a lot on what music they choose for TV shows or commercials or whatever. Like, again, back to my first point, you just make what you think is awesome, and hopefully there are people out there that think it's awesome too, and want it to be a part of their lives. In those cases, it's want it to be a part of someone's career and their trajectory for their future. So, you can't tell people what music to put in their show or their advertising project.
Right. Yeah. When those things happen, do you find like a boost in like your ability to sell tickets to shows and stuff, or is that kind of just all
No, that
just a
happens.
thing?
I think that's a factor much later, when people realize, oh, I love that song. Oh, I love that show. It seems to have an effect 5 years later,
Yeah.
more than it does while it's happening.
Right.
I don't think people really think about bands like that when they're hearing a song, comes on at the beginning of a show, that they're excited to see what happens this week, or now binging. But like Veronica Mars, that was back in the television era. You had to wait a week, I think, to see see what happens next.
Yeah. When you were signed to Capitol, tell me about kind of the impact for you in terms of where the band was then and versus kind of where you were able to take it. Like, what was their support like, and how did that drive your
Oh,
ability to?
that is one of our biggest regrets, is how much we whinged and complained and bitched about Capitol Records. But it was fantastic, in retrospect. But hindsight is 2020, of course. Um, they just have such massive machinery. Right now, we're taking advantage of a gap between labels to release our own single, and we're hiring PR people. And I think we're doing it. We have gotten great people. So we're doing a ton of interviews, a ton. I'm doing, I do a couple a day, and I get offered another 3 to 5 interviews every day. And that is wild for an independent band. But we found that with Capitol, they're not necessarily that's because we found the right people in the right genres, and it's cool. They're really connecting with true music, um, real true music fans. For us, it's shoegaze, psych rock, goth, post punk. It's the niche markets that we have always been a part of, and that we love, that we are. It is part of who we are and what we are as people, and our history growing up and what we listen to. Whereas when you're on Capitol, it's that maybe a little bit here and there, but it's a lot of bigger press. Whereas, now, no one's putting us on the cover of Rolling Stone or Pitchfork or anything. That's just not in the cards for us. So but with those, so there's millions of people that view it. A huge percentage don't care.
Right.
Whatever band is on the cover of these sites or magazine sites, you're just getting the world at large, and a not a specific layer of the cake. You're just getting the top to bottom, a 6 million layer cake, and you're getting, instead of just picking this one style of music and that you fit into or fit into a part of. So it was impressive, though. Let me tell you, the Capitol Records, all the major labels of the old days, their approach was just sheer power, just financial power, rolling out a lot of money, hiring a lot of people, and just trying to, and they could do it. You could shove square pegs into round holes, if you got enough muscle.
Was it a pretty amicable split afterwards, or was there tension when you moved on from Capitol?
No, we were on our last record there, and some douchebag dude to just come in, and we had made so much money for that. We made tens of millions of dollars for that company, and this idiot didn't even look at that. We were making money. We were not in the red. We were in the black. We had recouped all of the money and then made them a pile on top of it. Records were, and we were, we're a band who was a huge web presence at the beginning of the dawn of the internet, and so we didn't sell records. We didn't sell a lot of records. We were just this new thing of where music is available on, I don't even remember what it was called back then, but and this dude was this old school new president, kind of a stopgap, I guess, between two real presidents, and he just like, oh, they didn't sell a lot of records, and so he dropped us, and I hope he gets cancer.
Yeah. He just came in and cleaned up shop and didn't look at what was actually happening.
Who was making money or how
right.
to make money in the new world. He didn't notice. He didn't care. I don't think he lasted long there either.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's grooming miniature poodles now, and fighting gout.
It's the worst, right? Grooming the miniature poodles. No one wants to do it, so I love it. Talk to me about you spent some time with Tom Petty. Tell me about that.
We were very fortunate that Joe Strummer, Tom Petty, Robert Smith, all these heroes of ours, Peter Murphy, absolute titans and really like holy people, Stevie Nicks, they just loved us and they wanted to be around us and hang out with us. And we're a very social band, we're very social people. So we had a great time with them. Tom was awesome. He was a really mild mannered dude socially, like, hey man, hey you guys, brought you a couple joints. I think you're gonna really like it. And that was kind of the most no memorable thing, was smoking the pot that Tom Petty smoked. There was no paranoia at all. It was the most perfect blend of like new thoughts, positive feelings. He was great. We didn't, we didn't have that relationship of working in the studio, but he had us open for him several times, and we could just hang out. He was just a hangout, chatty guy, not a motor mouth.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks likes to talk.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and but we did shows. He would have Stevie Nicks come sing "Stop Dragging My Heart Around."
Yeah. I saw Petty in 05 and 06, and 06 she was like doing like a tour with him and did like 5 songs, and it was
Yep.
incredible. It was pretty incredible.
Would That wasn't one we were on though.
No,
We opened for Tom on it.
Black Crowes opened that one.
That's a hell of a band.
Yeah. I feel like you have a good Bowie story for me, so I want we crossed over Bowie, but I'm a big Bowie fan, and I want to learn a little something about Bowie. So
Okay, Bowie. Um, I I we were we we were sitting when he had we had both finished our new records. So we went out to our tour bus. He used to sneak cigarettes with us, with the Dandies, when we'd played together sometimes. So went out to the tour bus, have some coffee and a cigarette. Our tour bus, of course. Couldn't smoke on his tour bus, get in trouble. David would get in trouble. And and we started talking about, somehow we had gotten around to drugs, and he and I asked him about Heroes, the record, and why the song sounds so different. He said, I was kicking heroin and I couldn't sleep. And I think he was maybe at the Adlon Hotel, but one of the famous hotels at the Brandenburg Gate, next to the Berlin Wall. And every night he watched, he looked out the window and sat at a piano. Yes, he had a piano in his suite, and he would stare out the window and think on the piano and try to come up with songs. And he was just a mess. And the record was becoming more jazzy, and he was just said he kept adding shit to it, trying to find something, some inspiration. And at some point, at the same time, almost every night, he would see somebody way out there by the gate, kind of lurking. And then somebody else would come in. And then they would kiss and hold hands and talk. And then they'd wander off together. And so through more nights of this, the thing that he started to play very slow and lethargically was waiting for my man, the BU song, Velvet Underground song. I'm waiting for my man. So he was playing those chords very slowly, and this song came to him. The lyrics, we could be heroes, and da 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 da, and these people, and he and that's where Heroes came from. which is interesting in itself. But what I find more hysterical about David person, because he really was, um, such a childlike enthusiasm for stuff, life, things, trivial things or big things. He was just interested in a lot of things. And at least he seemed like it to me. I don't know his best friend or anything, but um, so he snuck out and hid behind a tree to to watch him and hear him, and he totally spied on these people.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great origin story of that song. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He had to find out.
Yes.
It's beautiful
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Standing
Hmm.
by the wall. Beautiful song. God.
He's an amazing musician. I never got to see him live, and I wish I had. But my favorite concert ever was a Bowie celebration here in San Francisco, led by Gary Oldman, the actor, and like 35 musicians. Like it was an amazing magical evening. Like a tribute to him
Last
after.
year, last year I got invited to play a Seattle, a benefit in Seattle with members of Sleater Kinney and Pearl Jam and the Head the Heart and Death Cab for Cutie, and all of us. There was just a pantload of us, and then kind of the most famous drag queens and super talents of the transgender hip world of Seattle, all playing different only Bowie songs for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours
Yeah.
one night. And that was uh, definitely the most amazing event I think I've ever participated in. The vibe and the ability to nail the sounds of the records. When we toured with David and we play with him, his band was very pro, and they were his guys from the late '80s and some from the mid '80s still. I mean, he had Mike Garson, who is the classic genius keyboardist for David. But by then, like Earl Slick had his own signature model, everything. So he's just a shit hot guitar player, really really great guitar player. The sounds did not match the sounds on the records, not even close. Particularly once you got back to the '70s stuff. And Gail on bass had a very very hot like kind of EMG pickup sound, and so everything was very flashy and when we did the thing in Seattle, you've got these musicians who are just doing this for one gig, so they can
Yeah.
have 3 different amps with them. They're not hauling gear, and they're not, shit isn't being moved and it's got to be thrown in and out of, they're bringing. So everyone brought the equipment that would match the record that of the song on the record that they were trying to play. So the early '70s stuff sounded like early '70s. The late '70s sounded like, it was absolutely stunning. And I did, everybody's afraid to touch Man Who Sold the World because it's Kurt. So, as I was the only one that was friends with David, and I felt, felt that I have a lot in common with David and similar vocal range. I can do, I didn't do Kurt doing. I can't sing like Kurt Cobain.
Right. Right.
Nobody can. I can
No.
do David. I can do a fair to middling David. So I did that, and I did the David version where I played congas on it and did that because it's got a kind of a calypso vibe on the original. So I did that. That was really cool. And then I did Putting Out Fire, um, which is, the Cat People theme, which is just like one of my favorite all-time David songs. And I just got to rip it. I did that second so I could really, like, I couldn't sing. I could barely talk after it. I just, whoa. And Ian Moore, who is just the coolest guitar player, had worked with Carlos Alomar like a month earlier and said, hey, I'm going to be doing Putting Out Fire, because Carlos played on that record with Stevie Ray Vaughan. Those were the two guitar players, I believe, on Let's Dance. And so he said, hey, can you show me how to play that? That whole thing. So he just got it straight from the horse's mouth, how to play this super inversion, like Brazilian jazz with this Keith Richards-y guitar. I mean, it's really the coolest guitar thing ever. And there's Ian, it's just perfect, man. He just can do it like it's his, just own it. So that was just, that song alone was, top 5 greatest musical experiences, moments of my life.
It's incredible, right? When you get to be a part of this thing that you just feel this energy in a room, that's, all these people that are celebrating this, mastermind genius musician, and bringing their uniqueness to it. And it's just, it's beyond incredible. That's how I felt at the celebration, that I went to also. It's just like, to even be a part of that, and get to interview a ton of artists and, and everything at that, and just be a fly on the wall for that experience was incredible, and made me just wish that I had some point in my life had seen Bowie, right? But didn't happen. But.
Yeah. Yeah. He was something, man. What a phenomenon. Yeah. And he did it in the most bizarre, he just kept on doing this thing that he did, he constantly changing styles. At one point he just started, he just would change his look and his sound, and it was something that I think he appreciated in us, was that we would change our sound, although when we did put out Welcome to the Monkey House, he was listening to it, and he at that point, we put that out at kind of the height of the Strokes and the White Stripes and all the Jet, the Vines, all these amazing guitar bands were cranking out just great, the greatest records, it's a small piece of the greatest records of all time. And in my opinion, but so we put out this, very synth-driven, more influenced by early Gary Newman, Two Boy Army, Duran Duran's first record. We were really into it. Got Nick Rhodes to work on it with us so that we could really get that authentic thing. And David said, why do you always want to be the first to do everything? It's so much more profitable to be the second. Which is interesting, because that sort of, as I thought about that later, and of course I've thought about that a lot in my life, as you would when David Bowie says something like that to you. First of all, my answer was, I don't know. I don't know how to do anything else. I'd be embarrassed to do anything else, But that means that he thought he was being the second in every single thing he did. Every single thing he did. He thought he was imitating Lou Reed on this one. He thought he was imitating Mark Bolan on this one. He thought he was imitating Donna Summer on this one. He thought he always, in his mind, he was he was chasing a groundbreaker, and he didn't know that he was breaking ground.
It's crazy to think about because you don't think about David Bowie as being a follower in any sense, right? You think of him as like paving the way, and that there is no one really quite like him, So
Absolutely. Or he was just so far off the mark of trying to be Donna Summer that he just invented something every time.
and even Black Star as he's as he's fading off into the ether, right? Like, I mean, putting out Black Star 2 days before he died, and like leaving that mark, it just I remember where I was when he died. I remember, hearing Black Star and the impact of that album, and I'm like, this is a guy who's like going out on his own terms and leaving his mark completely
Well,
there. And
you know, it's so David to orchestrate his own exit, the most well orchestrated exit in his sense of Roman since the Roman Empire. I mean, just it really it was like that scene in the movie Satyricon where the guy is, the emperor or whatever is doing his own funeral and pretending he's dead. I just kept expecting to get an email from him, a week after he died, go, Courtney, can you believe this? This is fantastic. He's on the cover of every magazine. It was the biggest death since Caesar. And he had it all arranged. He had it all set up. It was just so exactly. He was such a vain. He loved it. He had God. I swear to God, he just told people because he wanted to see what would happen.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is so him. And I never did. I never got an email from him.
Never got
After
it.
his death. I don't think
It's like
anybody did.
Elvis.
I think he actually died.
We'll believe it now, I guess, because he's been kind of quiet the past, 7 years. But
Yeah, I really miss that guy. It was fun to know him. Super fun. It was a really ridiculous party trick, to just sit somewhere as a party, people drunk, doing drugs, people snorting coke. Blah blah blah, and somehow, if Bowie came up and there's any kind of like no, this blah blah played on this, I could just go get my phone out and go, no, David said that was not Earl Slick, that was whatever guitar player. Everybody just go, what the fuck? Yeah, how do you know? Well, I just asked David. Although he did not remember a lot of stuff. He there was a lot of stuff he was like, that was when I was on my milk and cocaine diet, or whatever. I don't remember any of that. I don't remember anything. Yeah. But it was fun when I got to pull that a couple times, just like,
yeah, you were that close. You could just text him up and everything, right? Like,
fuck yeah, that's amazing. It's funny to sit here and do an interview. I've got this new single. We just made this AI video.
Yes, we didn't talk about any of that.
I've got a lot to say about AI because it is interesting, and my filmmaker that I've been working with for 20 years at least just said, hey, my buddy is this AI dork. He's got the hottest program. It just came out this week, and he says he's working on it. He's getting some really cool results. You want to do it? And I said, yes. Let's just take the green screen, not put it over like edited together found footage. Let's just dump it into the AI program. So I've worked with AI now, and it is like a human child. It's like if you force it to too much stuff, or it finds you to be confusing or counterintuitive or at cross purposes with your own, what you're telling it you want it to do, or you're helping it too much, it will rebel, and it will put fucked up things into your film, like all the things you don't want in there. Like all of a sudden it's making me look like I'm in the Insane Clown Posse, or it's putting gross fish face creatures with amidst like really weirdly rubbery legged, sexy, hiply dressed alien chicks with big eyes, and then Devo dudes with Devo hats doing weird homoerotic dances, and it'll just wander off onto weird things, and you wonder if it's the programmer who put safeguards in, or limitations, or whatever. But it is a tool to be used correctly, like anything. You can use a shovel to dig, or you can use a shovel to you can kill somebody with one. Right. So as far as using it as creatively, yeah, it's great, but it is a child that can destroy the entire global economy of
there's that, but
Earth, or break into nuclear codes and just wipe out the entire planet, think it's doing the right thing. But it's funny that I just spent an hour talking about David Bowie.
Oh, I know. So we'll get to like the Summer of Hate, right? So this is this AI video, and we can talk about the AI aspect too, because it's something that started coming up in some of the interviews I've done. Also,
David, by the way, would love this video.
Yeah, it seems like it would be up his alley. Yeah.
Oh man, and he would have been on this AI shit before anyone.
It's great that you're embracing it, because, and this is another cool thing. Like it's like there are those that are kind of nervous about it. I mean, obviously AI can make music replicate an artist's sound, feel to a degree, and kind of where is that going to take us? But
to a degree, to a degree, yeah.
It's missing the heart, but it can have the body of of an artist, right? So
yeah, but that's also the difference between entertainment and art. Right. I listen to pop music. I go to the gym and play racquetball. I've always loved racquetball. So that's kind of my healthy start to the morning. I go down the street and I play racquetball. So I hear pop music at the gym, and it comes on. I was Justin Timberlake, or and it just sounds like entertainment. It doesn't really. It sounds like something that could have been created by AI, and it's different. Being a great entertainer is a different form of genius than being a great artist. Right. Being a great artist is like an extreme example of passive aggressive behavior. It's like being a painter, where you sit alone and make this thing to get something off your chest, and a lot of garbagey feelings. So I'm going to show them, whoever they are. Artists have that petty, angry, you hurt me kind of shit, or you don't respect me. Or there's a lot of that goes into art. Entertainment is a bit of that, I suppose, but it really doesn't exist without an audience in mind. And art can never be finished until you get an audience completely out of your mind, and you are just selfish. That is, art is a selfish act, and entertainment is a hope for success, for being celebrated, or something, I guess. Art is maybe just hope to have a balance, to maybe a better day than you had yesterday. Sure. Make yourself feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. That's how it
It's
feels to me. I'm just letting my gut guide me here, but I do talk about it a lot, and I have given it obviously a shit ton of thought. Can you ever figure anything out? I don't know.
yeah. Um, and the new album is Rockmaker, right? That's going to be coming out. When is that coming out?
I don't know, maybe March-ish.
Yeah, yeah. We
We're,
got some time. Yeah,
we're guessing. Yeah, and it's um, heavy guitars is just the thing. Every song needed to start with like a heavy metal guitar riff, and um, you know, and then they wander into whatever direction. You know, summer of lived through the summer of hate started as this kind of Yardbirdsy sort of riff, and then it ended up just becoming an homage to the Damned, because it really had that kind of somewhere between Brian Brian James, is that his name, and Captain Sensible, the two main songwriter guitar players of the Damned, kind of right in between them, I felt. And then I love that Dave Banyan thing, which is also a very Iggy Pop thing, which is also kind of a David thing. Um, and it's something I love to express myself with that, using that part of my voice. I don't really do it that often. So it really, I think the damned-ishness of the supposedly Yardbirdsy guitar riff made me want to, somewhere between roaring and crooning.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, love it.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and
And
the entire record has, you know, big guitar, big, massive guitar riffs. And, I don't hear a lot of heavy guitar music that I like anymore, you know?
is the album pretty done?
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
might have just finished it. Uh,
nice.
needed to turn the snare drum down on the song that started out as like heavy metal Beach Boys, which equals vaguely Ramones.
Yeah,
Had to turn the snare drum down to give it a more punk sound, authentically kind of punk, proto punk, 70s punk. And so I'll get that remixed. Hopefully, my manager is sending that off to the mastering, not remixed, mastered.
yeah.
We did have a song remix that already got released by a really cool remixer called Nala. I never
Uh-huh.
asked her how she says her name, but uh, that came out last early in the summer, I guess. Uh, that's a song that features Debbie Harry on vocals,
Nice.
and so we'll release that song at some point too. We got some cool people on the record, really our favorite people. There's legends on the record, so
Who else you got? Can you say?
I'm not gonna say.
You're gonna hold it. Okay, got it. Sometime around March.
Uh,
Yeah. Well,
Anything else? Else?
yeah.
I've
I,
got to. I'm starting to. My stomach is starting to look at my kidneys
I,
and go, "Those look delicious." God, I'm
delicious.
hungry.
I know I haven't really eaten anything today either. I need to get some food, but before we wrap, I do want to ask you. So I'm going to be at the Fillmore show. You're doing two in San Francisco. I'm going to be at the Saturday one. Um, Fillmore is my favorite place to see shows. It's just amazing. It has an incredible energy. I know the last time you
Amazing.
were in the Bay, I think you played the Fillmore back in 2019. Um,
We play with Filmore a lot.
yeah, what do you love about it?
I don't really know. It just works. The
It
sound
works.
works, and the room works, and everything works. It's just got a thing. It's the Fillmore.
It's the Fillmore. The posters,
Yeah.
you can get lost looking at the posters, the energy in the walls, the chandeliers, the the apples, the apples. There's some sort of voodoo magic in those apples that they have in the lobby that are,
Mm.
I mean, just delicious. So I don't know if you've tried those, but make sure you get one. So
Okay, I don't think I've ever had an apple in the Fillmore.
you're gonna
Fillmore
be there for
apples.
2 days. That's my task for you is get grab an apple from the from the
Two
lobby and
days is. I will get one. I will definitely
are,
go.
do you know if they're doing a poster for you for the show?
I not my job.
Yeah, outside of you. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, those are amazing too, though. So,
Yeah, they
but
do great ones. But we're traveling with the Black Angels, and they do. Christian Bland does exactly that style of art. That is his
yeah,
genre. It's his era. The Vietnam, psych rock era. They're it, and he does their artwork. So our tour poster is very already very Fillmore style. So it'll be interesting to know if he has probably worked out the deal. I would imagine because that is his job.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure
Yeah,
he has. So
I'll see him today and I'll ask him, but it'll be too late for this scene.
it's cool. It's cool. Well, Courtney, I'll let you go get something to eat. Thank you for taking the time. I'm looking forward to the show next weekend and getting
Awesome.
to see it
Thank you,
live.
man. Thanks for your time.
Of course. You have a great rest of your day. Okay.
All
Stay
right, you
cool in
too.
Arizona.
Right. No, not. All right,
Not a
man.
thing.
See ya. Ciao.
Later. That was my interview with Dandy Warhols here on Concert Pipeline, and that takes us to the final segment on the program, the music news. Okay, got a couple stories to wind out the program today. First up is the When We Were Young festival. That's currently, as of this recording, going on. There's a lot of bands that are playing, many bands that I grew up on when I was young. So I kind of wish I was able to go to it, but again, I'm prioritizing duck hunting over going and spending a weekend in Vegas. But was super excited that something corporate reunited and played at the festival. One other band that played at the festival was a band called Green Day. They actually last minute announced a very intimate show at Fremont Country Club where they played to about 1,000 people, I think it is, maybe even less. And then they had some big news to share during their show as well. That they will be going on a stadium tour with the Smashing Pumpkins, Rancid, and the Linda Lindas in 2024, and it sounds like it'll be epic. This comes after they played the entirety of Dookie, the record that launched Green Day into the mainstream and altered the trajectory of their careers. So it's a huge album, and fans, I'm sure, were beside themselves with excitement to be able to hear all the hits from Dookie, including Burnout, Longview, Welcome to Paradise, Basket Case, She, When I Come Around. So many hits off of Dookie alone, and then they played other songs after that that are fan favorites and other songs. They played Father of All, Warning toward the end of their 30-song set, and closed the set with Homecoming, which they hadn't played since 2010. So they pulled out some stuff from the old days that they haven't played for a while. So pretty cool show for those that were able to get to see them in an intimate setting before they play the big festival stage, right? Okay, Mark Hoppus had to learn how to play bass again after chemotherapy. He's revealed the struggles he faced with getting back into music following chemotherapy treatment for cancer. He spoke to Zane Lowe for Apple Music ahead of the release of their album that just came out on Friday, One More Time. I got a chance to listen to that album, by the way, and dig it. Need to give it a couple more listens. But Blink-182 is back with Tom DeLonge, and it picks up like they hadn't missed a beat. Yet it really speaks to the beat that they did miss and how it shouldn't have to take a tragedy to bring them back together. So Hoppus spoke of his now squashed Bad Blood with Tom DeLonge, which he told Lowe there was not a chance that he would share a stage with again. I didn't know that Blink would ever get back together or that I would ever share a stage with Tom. And I told management, I told Travis Barker, I told everybody, I'm like, I'm not setting foot on stage again with that dude. Not a chance. That's the truth. But I've always thought Tom was one of the best songwriters in the world and one of my favorite songwriters. But there was a lot of bad blood and there was a lot of stuff in the press and feelings and all this stuff, he said. And he was diagnosed with 4A diffuse large B cell lymphoma in 2001, but was declared cancer-free 6 months later. And so when word got out that he was diagnosed with cancer, he realized that DeLonge was in his corner supporting him. I got sick, but Tom was always like, "We're going to get you through this." And so they were able to mend their relationship and get back together, which is great because yeah, sometimes you need to really just work to be able to mend your relationships and be on the same page with making that happen, right? So good for Mark and Tom from Blink-182. Fatboy Slim performed on the world's biggest holographic stage, and I guess it was more so a likeness of Fatboy Slim. They performed a surprise show at Alexandra Palace, and it was organized by EE and saw the DJ behind the decks in the form of a huge hologram created using cutting-edge technology and streamed on the mobile network's Instagram. It was a 50-meter tall halo gaze, same height as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and suspended from two cranes. And so they took over London's skyline and made history, Fatboy Slim said in a statement following the performance. A massive shout out to all those fans who joined him in the world's biggest holographic stage to kickstart a brand new era. So a new form of technology apparently being brought out where that was able to be done. All right, one more story before we wind out the program, and in typical fashion, we like to try and wind out with Foo Fighters news. So Dave Grohl shared feelings about whether Nirvana sold out. He said, "I didn't feel personally conflicted." Grohl and Novoselic from Nirvana will talk more about Nirvana on an upcoming episode of Conan O'Brien's podcast, which is awesome. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to, and really cool that Dave Grohl is going to be there. They're set to appear on Conan's podcast on October 23rd. That's right now. So I'm going to stop podcasting and I'm going to go listen to the Conan O'Brien podcast. And in an exclusive preview from Billboard, they discussed the 30th anniversary of In Utero, where O'Brien asked whether band success went against their DIY punk background. And in response, producer Al Beanie said he often encountered this criticism from people outside of the culture of punk, saying, "I've never experienced that genuinely from anybody in the punk scene that wasn't purely an expression of jealousy." He continued, "On the whole, Nirvana's fans wanted Nirvana to become successful and self-sustaining and beloved." And Grohl chimed in to give his thoughts on navigating Nirvana's success, saying, "Before we made the record, Nevermind, we were pretty much living in squalor," describing the tiny fucking disgusting apartment he shared with Kurt Cobain, covered in cornball sticks and cigarettes. "I would have done anything to have my own apartment and to be able to do that through making music." So he knows the transition happened quickly, but you don't just wind up with $1 million in your mailbox the next day, he joked. So looking forward to checking out that podcast. All right. That is our show for today. So thank you for tuning in. Next week on the program, we have an artist who goes by the name of The Bones of J.R. Jones. So that is our show. Thank you for tuning in again. For all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.